I mean, even if you're not getting a big break, it doesn't mean that you're not successful. Doesn't mean that you're not. Doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It's just, it just means that it is where you're at in the moment. So I'm 36. I'm still doing it. So I'm not. I never look at it like, oh, I didn't reach this goal that is expected by society, so I must quit playing drums and never pick up a pair of sticks again. It's not like that. It's just, you just do it. It's just like there's no restrictions to it. There's no good enough or bad enough. It's just you just do it because you love it, and when the right people, at some point the right people will notice you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters on That podcast. I'm your host, Brian. And joining me today, Corey Ahlquist. How you doing there, brother?
Good, man. How are you today?
Not too bad. Where are you hailing from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Are you? I thought I was checking out your bio, and you're from the UK?
No. I'm from Atlanta.
Are you? Okay. Oh, yeah. I was looking at somebody else. Okay, I apologize.
Oh.
I was trying to look at your about page, too, and I was trying to learn a little bit about you. I thought I saw you United Kingdom for some reason. I might have misread that. I'm sorry.
I did a little bit of I did a little tour in the UK. I don't know, maybe you saw something like that.
That must have been it. Okay. Regardless, how you been doing? I guess you've been doing a little tours in and around Georgia, or what are you doing right now?
So right now I'm primarily playing with a young artist by the name of Leah Bell Fazer. She's a country artist out of Atlanta. So that's my primary gig right now. Other than that, I do a lot of I do some remote sessions with a producer out of Jacksonville that I've known for a while. Play with a couple other people around town. A girl by the name of Mary Kate Farmer. She's a good country artist. A local guy named Eddie Ninevolt. I'll fill in with him occasionally. But other than that, man, yeah, that's mostly what I got going on right now.
Keeping yourself busy. That's pretty good.
Yeah, trying to, yeah.
It seems like Atlanta's starting to become like a different hub outside of like the entertainment, because it's like the Hollywood of the East now, and now you like get music and everything else. So it's like, I don't know, is it going to grow as big as LA at one point?
Well, I don't know if it'll ever become LA, but it's definitely like, obviously Nashville is, your main biggest music hub you can possibly have in the US right now, which is not just country anymore. It's supplying rock, pretty much every genre is coming out of Nashville. But Atlanta's only 4 hours away from that, and it's starting to grow a pretty good scene. Obviously it's primarily known for hip hop, gospel, but it's definitely making its way with various other genres as well. Indie's getting pretty big around here. Country's always had its thing. So yeah, I mean, I could definitely see it growing into a much larger staple in the music business side of things.
I was actually in Nashville not too long ago, and unfortunately that's what got me sick, and it's kind of been lingering ever since. But nonetheless,
yeah, it's kind of dingy in there.
Yeah, well, I guess don't go during late October, because it seems that's when the germs all start coming down from the atmosphere and start getting you sick and all that. So
for sure.
But nonetheless, I had a blast, and I actually tried to interview a guy a couple times. Actually, I should say, because unfortunately the connection was not the greatest, so that one didn't turn out as great. So we had to do it over at some point. But we'll save that for a different time. But welcome to my podcast. In this podcast, we like to get to know musicians. Most of the time it's been drummers, but since you're a drummer, we get to know you both as a drummer and as the individual. So you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
Sorry, I'm stuttering a little bit. It's been a while since I did these. So,
oh, no.
So why don't we start with the first question here? You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into drumming? And who is Corey Ahlquist?
So I first decided I really wanted to be a drummer. I think when I was 12 years old, and I saw Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers. He was performing live on, I don't know what channel it was, but he was playing with the Chili Peppers live somewhere, and he was doing a solo, and I don't know, it just spoke to me, and I was like, that's what I want to do. So from there, begged my parents for a drum kit. They got me one at some point, and probably around 13 is when I really started getting into it. My dad is a musician as well. He's primarily a harmonica player. So grew up with him playing in a lot of blues bands, and he actually started getting me my first lessons with a local legend that he played with a lot. Lee Goodness, his name is, and he actually used to play with Curtis Mayfield before his untimely death. And so that got the wheels turning. Grew up playing in a lot of punk rock bands. That was kind of what I first started doing, and then I slowly kind of started working into doing cover music with my dad's bands, sitting in with him and playing a lot of gigs doing top 40 variety blues stuff. That was kind of my foundation growing up. Up until about 25, I actually moved down to Jacksonville, Florida, started playing with a rock group called Lawless Hearts. And Lawless Hearts was that was kind of my baby that I put my blood, sweat, and tears into. I do that with everything, but this one really, I really put a lot into. I did that for about 5 years until it kind of started fizzling out. We did a lot of touring, did a UK tour, Southeast touring, did South by Southwest, released a lot of music, and it had its time. It was fun, and that actually brought me back up to Atlanta after that kind of fizzled out, and started getting back into the scene here more with country, so to speak. I just kind of fell into that. Playing with artists around town. Most recently, I was playing with Tristan Tritt, who is the son of Travis Tritt, who I don't know if you're a big country fan, but Travis Tritt's one of the biggest 90s country dudes there ever was. So that was pretty cool playing with him. Just kind of, as far as like the situation, it wasn't quite the right fit for me, but I ended up moving into playing with Leah Belfazer, who is a little more up my alley as far as her style of music goes, and we've been clicking, and she's super talented, and that's kind of been what I've been doing. That's the quick clip notes of everything.
Nice little short story. So
yeah.
Travis Tritt does sound familiar. I think I might have seen that name before, but I think the problem I have with country is like the albums tend to be just want to like pull you to the arenas and the concerts and all that stuff, and then that's where you get like the whole performance. That's when they go balls to the wall sort of thing. And I don't know, country at times also tends to be a little sad because it's always about maybe a girl leaving or the guy's truck breaks down, something about involving alcohol and stuff like that too. So that might be actually a stereotype, so I'm sorry if that's a little offensive. But that's
no offense taken at all. No, you're actually, you're spot on with that. I mean, some of the best songs come from that, in my opinion. But yeah, it gets redundant, it gets old. I think you can kind of say the same thing about a lot of music. Blues, same thing. Obviously with the name, and really country comes from blues. So I'm sure it's all kind of intertwined in that sense. But yeah, man. Yeah. I think a lot of the problem with with country is modern country nowadays. And don't get me wrong, there are some great modern country artists coming out, but there's also a lot of just manufactured, generic, just Nashville spitting them out as fast as possible type of artists. And, it kind of makes it hard to latch onto that music genre when there's not a whole lot of originality left in it. So I definitely get what you're saying with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like now they throw in synthesizers and stuff like that. The drums don't sound as real. It's like the electronic sort of drums, so to speak. I think there's probably a couple. I forget if it was... I don't know if Kenny Chesney did it at all, but I'm terrible with names, even though I came from the Country Music Hall of Fame just a month ago, too. So I have to watch what I say. I'm trying not to be blasphemous or anything like that. So,
man, that's cool. No blasphemy here. No, yeah, the electronics have definitely gotten, intermingled, which can be really cool, in country music. But if it's not done right, it can be cheesy, in my opinion, But yeah,
absolutely,
yeah, definitely something different.
I think when you were talking about Chad Smith, I don't know if it was MTV or any of those shows which used to, I guess, show videos. This one was more of a drum solo. Was he on like some sort of late night show?
It could have been, yeah. My memory's a little foggy at this point of the exact details on it. I just remember him playing specifically on TV, and yeah, that was really, in essence, what kind of hooked me into it. I had initially, like, I wanted to play drums in like middle school band, but like I wasn't able to get into that position, I think, because they already had too many drummers. So like then I was just like, okay, whatever. I actually started playing trumpet a little bit, and which is a pretty dope instrument actually. But after seeing that, like a couple of years later, I was like, man, I need to play drums. I was like, that's for me. It was calling. So I actually never played drums in school, but I attended Atlanta Institute of Music, which is a really good music school here in Atlanta. And, that was a huge help, I feel like, to my progression as a professional drummer.
I see. It's funny when you mention your dad, too, because my dad actually, he played bass guitar for a little while. And that was kind of how I got into strings. I actually played cello for a little bit because unfortunately they didn't want to do the big double bass. Keep lugging that big thing around too. So I guess how long did you do trumpet?
Trumpet was just a couple of years in middle school. Yeah, I just played for a couple of years. And, I ended up getting much more into the drums at that point. And I was just like, I'm good.
So they picked up in high school?
A little bit before, like 8th grade, something like that.
I see. All right, so let's get into your kit right there. What you got?
Cool, yeah, man. This kit right here is a Pro Master Series. It's a birch. Symbols are Heisty signatures. The hardware is mostly DW. I really like DW hardware a lot. I got a 9000 hi-hat stand. Pedals right now are 3000, and got a DW throne. Mics right now that I'm using, Shure 57s, and I got SM81s overhead. And yeah, I mean it's a solid little kit. I keep this one kind of in my little home studio for recording purposes, and then I've got actually another Pro Masters that I use for gigging.
I see.
So, yeah. I like to work as efficiently as possible, and like, one of the things I hate most about being a drummer is the setup and pack up situation, which I'm sure most drummers can relate to. So, over time I've invested in, little ways that make my life easier. So definitely one of them is having a stationary kit that I don't have to pack up for gigs on a regular basis.
I was say we're not at that point where we're able to hire a roadie yet.
No, I wish.
That'd be nice.
That'd be the day I'll know I made it.
Yeah. I was getting a look at your studio there. You got the ambient light and everything, and then looks like you got like the spotlight there too, I guess. So what kind of lights are those?
Oh, nothing special, man. I just I had a little bit of mood lighting going on over here that helps it feel a little more relaxed in here. And then I just got kind of a overhead, just a simple dome light from hardware store that I use for just to get some good lighting in here. I have more lighting in here that I have turned off just because it's a little much, but if I'm shooting a video or something, I like to have the lighting on completely so that it I feel like it's a little better, especially for like the drum covers and stuff like that, to have more lighting and then just kind of bring down the saturation a little bit so that it ends up evening out and looking pretty good.
I see. And I guess, are you endorsed by DW or you just buy a whole lot from them?
DW? No, I'm not. I'm actually not endorsed by anybody at the moment. I just kind of represent what I like, and hopefully if I promote it enough, maybe they'll take an interest in helping me out.
Absolutely too. And I guess what brand are sticks?
Vader.
Vader?
Yeah. I like Vader. They've just always been reliable for me. I feel like over the years I find it, it gets to be, and I'm sure this is for a lot of drummers, it gets to be expensive to experiment, with different brands and different, like different drum heads and stuff like that. So I've kind of like developed what I feel like is a great rounded out tone. Like my heads, I use Remo pinstripes. Been using those forever for my toms, and coated ambassador on my snare. And I use Remo clear ambassadors underneath for snare and toms, and it just, I don't know, it just sits right. Great sound. I've never had anybody not like it. Sounds good on recording, sounds good live. It's just easier that way. Until you start getting endorsed and you got the money, to throw around and try different stuff out, I feel like it's, if you find something that's solid, just stick with it,
I guess, did you ever experiment with new sticks before you settled on Vader?
Sure. Yeah. I've played, through the years, I've played everything from Vic Firth, ProMark, off brands and stuff like that. Even Zildjian sticks I've messed with. I don't know. Vader is just for the price, for the endurance of them. Get pretty good life out of them. They're usually well balanced. They work nice.
I've just always been rolling with Vic Firth, and I always feel bad I don't get to experiment, but I'm worried that if I experiment with, say, Vader or ProMark, I'm just be like, I don't know if I want to go back to Vic Firth. I like these sticks too much now, so, but I guess it comes down to feel, and I guess what kind of helps you with doing certain patterns. Since country is not very fast, I experiment in metal, so unfortunately I play very fast music, but sometimes I did see some of the songs he did were from Rage Against the Machine, so I do some of those at times. I don't know, I think it just comes down to feel. So
definitely. Yeah, it's all about feel, man. I definitely, if you're playing a little heavier music on a consistent basis, you might want something, Vader might not be the option, but definitely, just if you're playing like a lot of variety music and just kind of going across the board, I feel like it's a good balanced stick.
Absolutely too. So you did touch on electric drum sets a little bit briefly, and I guess a little iffy on it, but I guess, have you ever played on electric drum sets before?
Yeah, I've owned a couple of electric drum sets throughout my life. And, just based on my living situation, like a couple times, I lived in apartments and I was like, I definitely can't have an acoustic kit in here. So I had electric kits for a little while, and I also taught at some music school that we just used an electric kit in there. So honestly, like my opinion on electric kits is really that they're great for figuring out rhythms, great for figuring out, different styles of music, syncopation. But, and you can even get your basic technique down. But you're not going to be able to get down dynamics like you need to on an acoustic kit. Dynamics are just something, between the heads that you have, and I know there's like some newer kits that are coming out that are like hybrid kits that like are way more realistic that I haven't really experimented that much on. But like I'm just thinking of like mesh pads and stuff like that. Like mesh pads are just not quite, it's just not going to be quite the same feel that you would with a snare or tom. So, and it's also like, I feel like acoustic kits are, they're gonna show you every detail of what you're doing. You're gonna hear every single little thing that's going on with it. So electronic kit in that essence is a little easier to get away with sounding good, I guess, on, which is nothing wrong with that. And, it has its own things that can make it better than an acoustic kit, with being able to sample different sounds. Obviously, you can adjust volume for smaller playing spaces. So it just really comes down to what you want to do. I think every drummer should try to incorporate both to a degree, especially with electronics being so prominent in today's music. You should definitely have an idea how to work with electronic kits. Even if you don't want to play them primarily, you should know how to use them and be ready for a situation like that where you need to use them. So that's my take on it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I guess, have you ever thought of incorporating one to the side of your set there and use it as for percussion and stuff like that?
Yeah, SPD pads,
Something like that, yeah.
For effects and stuff like that. Yeah, I love those. I don't currently use one, but I do enjoy them and think they're an awesome addition to any kit, really. To throw in samples, effects, or just a simple trigger, somewhere on your kit for, backing tracks and stuff like that. That's definitely clutch to have.
I would just say it kind of eliminates the need of making what I call the satellite kit, where it's encompassing all around you, like what you saw with Neil Peart, as it comes to mind. Maybe Mike Portnoy has done something like that, so not too sure about it.
Yeah, Neil Peart definitely has. A lot of drummers have definitely had the hybrid kits set up, or dual kits. So that's definitely a pretty cool thing to do.
And speaking of which, you did mention Chad Smith earlier. I guess that's one of your biggest influences. I guess, did you have any others who are big influences in your life?
Oh, absolutely. Taylor Hawkins, RIP, is definitely one of my biggest influences. Travis Barker is up there. Carter Beauford from Dave Matthews Band, love him. Steve Gadd, definitely a huge inspiration. Josh Freese. Those are and Bonham for sure. Those are probably some of my biggest influences. So a lot of that primarily being rock, but a lot of those drummers I think offer, a wide variety apart from just rock feel, they kind of span across the board. But
yeah, I was gonna say there's always the guys from Bonham, Bill Ward from Black Sabbath, and obviously Neil Peart. All of them. Well, I shouldn't say. I think Bill Ward's still alive, but I know Neil Peart had passed. And I don't know, is Bonham still around at all? I haven't really paid attention, to be honest. Or is he long since passed?
Yeah, Bonham's been gone for. I think he passed in the 80s, maybe, or maybe it was the 70s. But yeah, he passed way too young. But his son has been. He does shows with Zeppelin if they do it. Well, obviously Robert Plant hasn't been, the singer for a long time, but he actually does like a thing called Led Zeppelin Experience, where it's just like pretty much the most legit Led Zeppelin tribute you could possibly do. And he sounds like so much like his dad that it's definitely something I haven't personally seen it, but watching videos of it, I'm like, damn, that's legit. So
Yeah, I know my history has been rough, and I had to pay attention too.
Yeah.
All right, but I guess what gear do you use when it comes to recording a drum cover? I guess you mentioned some of your microphones. I guess what sort of cameras do you use?
I just use my iPhone, and I run everything into a Scarlett 18i20 interface, all my mics, and that's really just my setup in general for recording. Period. And so if I'm doing a cover, I actually also have you used the app called Moses?
Moises? Yeah.
Moses? Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, I use that, which is, I think, an amazing app for any drummer to pull out the drums from that so that you can just have your own drums on the track. And it's also provides a click, which is usually pretty on point. Sometimes it's a little off, but I liked using that and running that all into Logic. And then after that, I'll just sync up the sound and video into iMovie.
Mm. You don't use Final Cut Pro?
What's that?
You don't use Final Cut Pro?
No. I mean, I don't do like advanced enough stuff really where I really need to do that at the moment, So iMovie's been fine for that.
That's actually what I use. But you mentioned you had the Scarlett 18i20 as well.
Oh, you got that as well?
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm using. Actually, this is the whole thing. My microphone's like plugged into it too, and it's plugged in the back here. That's what we're using to record all this. So it comes in handy. Nice. It does a nice job.
Yeah, it's a really good. Like, I feel like it's not like the top of the line, but it's like a really good, like solid one that you can, especially for drummers, for the price point and stuff like that, you can make some pro recordings with it for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Even though I probably could have got away with the much smaller ones because I never really went as crazy because I've always rolled with electric drum sets, so it was
way simpler.
It was, yeah. That. You know, I always regret seeing the real small ones. Is like those little small boxes. I think it's a 2i2, I believe is the name of it. So, but nonetheless, this baby's been doing a good job for me, so I can't complain about it.
Very cool. Very cool.
I want to say the biggest one, I think the top of the line Scarlett one they had. I want to keep saying Thunderbolt, but I could be wrong. I think that's just one of the features it had on it too. But I think I went to look up the name. I'm sorry. So that's all I remember from it. But I guess you've been in a good number of bands so far. I guess talk about the experiences with them.
Yeah. I've played with quite a few bands over the years. Experiences, have been, I'd say, mostly good. I've had a lot of awesome touring experiences, bonding moments with band members, seen a lot of cool places, played in front of some really, really awesome crowds. It's hard to say, like, specific experiences. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. But definitely all memorable. Was there anything in mind that you were looking for that you could direct me to?
Sometimes the biggest ones that always happen. People always remember like the breakups that tend to come about too. But I guess yours, all of them were pretty amicable.
Pretty amicable, yeah. I'd say one of the harder breakups that I had with a band was one of my first bands, the Dead Towners, we were called, and we were doing pretty good. We're a punk rock group out of Atlanta. Started building a following. We were starting to open up bigger shows, opening up for Rancid. Bands like the Toasters, US Bombs, a lot of cool casualties, a lot of cool like bigger punk rock groups we started opening for, and really like it just came down to some of the members were wanting to kind of go a different direction with the music, and it was starting to get torn between like, okay, like I'm kind of the person that's like, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know, if we got something good going, the sound's working, then stick with it. And then, you know, people started wanting to go different directions, and it started getting harder to write music, and then, you know, started creating a little bit of a rift as far as that goes. And then, you know, and then other stressful things come up. And then, yeah, that was more of just a disappointing breakup. You know, I wouldn't say it was like, you know, anything crazy between us. It was still amicable, but it was just, you know, a disappointing situation where, you know, you see something that has so much potential and it's going somewhere, and then it falls apart. So yeah, that was a disappointing one.
I see. Yeah, and those ones always stink too, especially when you feel like we got something going here, man. We got to keep going, and everybody's like, we want to go this way and pull you that way. I guess were you more the middleman during those groups?
More the what?
The middleman, like you didn't mind which way you go, just so long as we were making music.
I mean, to a degree, like I guess like I've always kind of had a place, like I've always kind of had more of a producer's mindset with things. So like no, like I really like I've always I kind of put my foot down if something doesn't sound good, if something's not right. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. You know, it just doesn't sound good. It's not right. And you know, so like I'm definitely pretty outspoken when it comes to that, and at times I can come off as, you know, a little obtuse and you know, I guess a little abrasive with people. But that's something I've worked on over the years. But you know, it's definitely like, you know, if I know something doesn't sound right, like from my perspective, I'm pretty confident in myself to be like, look, like we don't need to be doing that. Like you're not talented enough to play that type of music that you want to play, to be quite honest, and it doesn't sound good. So like, let's stick to what we're doing. A lot of times less is more. And yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about it.
Or keeping it real simple is the best sort of thing we can do.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I see what you mean too. And I guess, do you have, I know your memory might be a little foggy, but I guess, do you know a funny memory from any of those groups at all? It could just be one. You don't have to tell them from like each group, but just one that comes to mind.
Oh, let's see. Oh, man.
Was it a little wasted, a little hangover kind of moment?
I'm trying to think. God.
I think I was just kind of picturing the moment of just like, what the hell's going on?
Okay.
That sort of thing.
I had a good memory actually from that band in particular while we're on it. But
All right.
so we did this college town show in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, which is the football team Alabama. That's their hometown, or their school. So we were doing a show there at this college bar, and it was game night. So we were setting up, and everybody's watching the game. You know, we weren't going to start till after the game is over. And, you know, with these football towns, it's like, you know, it's intense, especially, you know, in a college town like that. It's like, if you don't want to interrupt the game, and if the show could go two ways, it's like either the team wins and everybody's stoked and on cloud nine and going crazy, or the team loses and everyone's depressed and people go home, they don't stay out. So we were like, man, you know, we're out here on the road. We were like, God, this team is. We were like, they got to win. They got to win. And it was like seconds down in the last till the end of the last quarter, and they were down by one touchdown. And quarterback threw some crazy Hail Mary pass, and they scored, won the game. everybody went crazy, and then we hit the stage, and it was just like, it was magical. You know, it was just like eruption from the crowd, and everybody was into it. You know, they loved it, and that was a cool story. You know, it's like, you know, as much I guess the point is, like, it doesn't matter, you know, how good you are. It doesn't matter what kind of music you play. You know, it's all comes down to like the crowd, their mindset, you know, the environment. That's what really gets people on board during the show.
More of the story, so to speak.
Yeah.
Actually, Roll Tide. That's the
Roll
whole
Tide.
thing to do. Roll Tide.
Yep.
I was trying to honestly remember that game, but it might have been a lot way back in the past. I remember one of the Iron Bowls they played against Auburn. That was during Thanksgiving. I was actually in Georgia when that happened, and that's when Auburn returned this missed field goal because it was short, and the guy caught it, and he ran the whole way back for a touchdown to win the game for Auburn, and that was one of those oh my god kind of moments, and I just remember laughing so hard. And I'm thinking like, oh geez, those people in Tuscaloosa, because I know Auburn's also in Alabama too, but I'm just like, those people are probably pissed right now, to be honest. So.
Yeah. Just
Yeah. You know, I've never been to Alabama, actually, I guess. Have you been there recently?
Drove through not too long ago, but haven't hung out there in a little while. Yeah, no, it's been a minute since I've actually. Well, I think like a couple of years ago I did a show there. It was like 2 years ago I did a show there, but yeah, haven't really hung out there in a while. It's an interesting.
Yeah, actually, I had a friend I interviewed down there, so hopefully I can find his place and just go party and play drums at his place. So, all right.
Oh, absolutely, man, that'd be awesome.
All right. So let's see. Talked about influences. I guess let's jump into your YouTube channel a little bit. And I guess when did you start it, and what do you hope to achieve with it?
Man, I honestly, you know, haven't grown the YouTube channel too much. It's, you know, I feel like with the way social media is evolving, it's always like jumping on the most trending thing, you know, so I'm kind of focusing on like TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that. And then, you know, of course I would love for YouTube to grow, but, you know, I haven't been putting in the work, honestly, for that to happen. But I mean, it's really at this point, it's like, I just hope to, from any social media platform, to get noticed, you know, by good artists that want to collaborate and work together with me, you know, and for recording, for live performance, whatever it may be. That's the ultimate goal for me. You know, I definitely enjoy doing, you know, covers and stuff like that and putting out instructional videos. But really, when it comes down to it, like, the ultimate goal is live performance and studio work for me.
I see. In fact, when I first found you, I was thinking, like, this guy's got a small channel here. You know, let's be nice. Let's reach out and see what this guy's like. And, like, he's telling me all these groups. He's like, this guy's a big shot. How does he not have a big audience right now? So, but definitely this is why we do it. This is why we do it.
Yeah. It's why we do it, man. It's, you know, there's so many talented drummers and musicians in general, I find all the time, that I'm just like, man, this guy should be out there, you know, playing for the biggest artists. But, you know, it just is, it's the name of the game, you know, and you just keep going at it, and you do it because you love it. And, you know, you work on your craft, and you network, and you hope that you get a good big break sometime. You know, that's really it. But
yeah.
I mean, even if you're not getting a big break, you know, it doesn't mean that you're not successful. Doesn't mean that you're not good enough. It's just, you know, it just means that it is where you're at in the moment, you know. So you know, I'm 36, I'm still doing it. So I'm not, I never look at it like, oh, I didn't reach this goal that is expected by society, so I must quit playing drums and never pick up a pair of sticks again. You know, it's not like that. It's just, you know, you just do it. You know, it's just like, there's no restrictions to it. There's no good enough or bad enough. You know, it's just, you just do it because you love it. And when the right people, you know, at some point the right people will notice you. and you'll be ready.
I was going to say, do you get a lot of like mean comments at times whenever you post a video?
No, man, I've been, not that I have like, an insane amount of like views or anything like that, but no, I've gotten nothing but love for the most part, but I feel like anybody who wants to drop any kind of hater comments and stuff like that, it's like, feel free, usually when you're getting hateful comments, that means that you're usually doing something right, because people are, they're jealous, or they're just like, they see that you got attention and they want to, they want attention too. So that's why they do that kind of stuff. So, I mean, by all means, anybody who wants to be a hater, feel free.
I would just put, you're adorable as my reply. That'd be my reply to him.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess let's get into COVID a little bit. I guess how bad did it impact you and your family and bandmates and anybody in your community?
Yeah, I mean, living in the South, obviously stuff kind of stayed open a little more. A very weird situation, at the time I was working a 9-to-5 type of job. And that actually fizzled out because of that, which got me kind of worried, especially with music gigs also being gone. Luckily, I was able to get a little support from our Uncle Sam during that time, which helped a little bit, but in the end, I actually ended up kind of starting my own business flipping furniture, which was has been a cool thing that I've just actually continued doing since then, and it's enabled me to kind of make ends meet while I'm doing music, and not have to worry about the flexibility of a job, so that's been kind of how I progressed from it. Thank God I didn't get too sick. I did get COVID, but I didn't have any kind of extreme reaction to it, thankfully. Definitely had some people close to me that got really sick, and it was pretty scary, touch and go for some people. Yeah, I mean, it created a lot of tension between, at the time I had some roommates at the time, and, us being in the same house all the time, quarantine, that was bad. That was pretty rough for a little while. So, that's kind of how it went. Would I like to do it again? No. Absolutely not.
I see. Yeah. Up north, we got a little bit more lockdown, and I'd say maybe in some parts it was probably a little bit lax, but I think you'd say in more major cities, that's where they really started doing the lockdowns and stuff like that. So, I always had to laugh because I know I mentioned my trip to Nashville earlier in this interview, but actually when I got back, that was the first time I ever got COVID because I tested positive for it. I was going to say, it only took me 2 years.
Of laughing at the ideal of like, it's just like the South was a little too lax, I think, about COVID.
That too, but I was going to say it only took me, especially when it's been lingering here the whole time. So,
right. Well, you're pretty fortunate, I think, to get it later when it's a little less extreme. Thankfully, I don't know. Were you okay? Did it affect you bad?
In the beginning, I felt pretty fatigued the one day, and I was even trying to play drums, maybe get the heart rate going, make myself feel a little bit better, and I was like, I just can't do this. I need to go to bed.
Yeah.
Well, I even took NyQuil too, and I woke up that night after taking NyQuil, and I had a little fever. I had to get out of my bed and put on sweatpants and just get back under the covers. I actually even contemplated just getting in the shower, just cranking the heat up, to be honest. So, but
yeah,
I got through it.
Do it.
But thankfully I got through it, and I'm actually pretty happy that you got through it too. So good to have you along here, Corey.
I appreciate it, you as well. Glad we made it.
All right. I was just thinking the next one to talk about. You did talk about session musician work. That's right. I guess. Do you have any sort of advice you can give for it? Anybody who wants to be a session musician?
Um, I would say, this day and age, like definitely focus on remote recordings. Remote recordings are challenging in the fact that you're usually working with tracks that are not produced yet, tracks that are going to be cut up and changed eventually. Sometimes you get a track that is straight up where it's just like, this is it. I already know exactly how I want it to be. I know exactly kind of how I want the drums to go. I just need a live drummer. I need that extra oomph. That sounds a little more than, program drums. And not to mention, program drums are very time consuming to lay down. And it's like, that's what I find with a lot of producers that they deal with. They're like, they would rather just have a live drummer just lay it down, and then maybe they want to, you can always add some samples over top of their kick, snare, and whatever to give it more of the effect that you want. But inevitably, like, it's an extremely time consuming thing. And from a drummer's perspective, unless you are a drummer, a lot of times the producer doesn't have quite an understanding of, the drums themselves might sound real programmed, but like they might have like kind of like a weird fill that like somebody wouldn't normally do that just sounds like, you know what I mean? Like you might hear like that's usually how I pinpoint program drums easiest is I'm like, that fill made no sense. Like, it doesn't sound like anybody would realistically do that there. It sounds kind of weird. So that's one thing, I think that takes away from the authenticity of a live drummer is like, if you try to do it from that aspect. But, I find that doing remote sessions is obviously cool because you can work with anybody from around the world. But it's challenging in the aspect of like you kind of have to have a mindset of like I learned this the hard way because like I would get attached to drum parts, and I'd be like, man, this is gonna sound so good. They're gonna love the way this beat is on this section, and then I hear the final product back, and they took the verse I played and used it for the chorus, and they used the breakdown that I did, they cut it in half and took out the one part that I love so much. And it's just like, you got to kind of like almost keep it simple enough to where like they can cut stuff up because it's not about it. It's not about that it didn't sound good what you did. It's about that like they're usually working with an artist that is like, has a different idea, or they just have a different idea of how it should go, and it's their vision ultimately. And it's like, you just can't get too attached to it. So you want to keep it simple enough, but unique enough so that they have cool stuff to work with, to use in the song. And, it's got to be tight, try to be quick, efficient, easy to work with, have good sounding drums, good sounding mics. Just make sure you got good equipment really. But that to me is the easiest like way to enter into like any kind of session until you get real like interconnected. Are you going to start getting like more like live session gigs? Or if you live in a place where, where like there's a lot of studios and like they really need session drummers. But I mean, for the most part, a lot of producers have like, they'll have their one guy that works in-house with them. And it's, it's kind of hard to get into a situation like that this day and age. But, definitely the remote stuff, I'd say like try to go that route. Fiverr, Fiverr is actually a big outlet for musicians doing studio work and stuff like that.
Is that what you recommend too?
But yeah.
Using Fiverr for marketing, and I guess what about click track or playing to a click, as they would say?
Oh yeah, that was essential. If you can't play to a click, I would work on that like exponentially before you try to get into session playing. You gotta be on the money with that, and there's really no flexibility for the most part, unless like the only time you can get away with really, because that's the thing, that's the only way you can get away with not having to worry about a click really is if you are playing live with a whole band in a studio, which sometimes they want that raw, like that cool, like organic vibe that it's not rigid at all, but even like I've done a good bit of live studio work with full bands and stuff, and I'm still playing to a click with that even in the live band situation. So either way, you're really going to want to be able to lock in with that seamlessly without even thinking about it.
I see, yeah. And I guess, do you use Fiverr primarily when it comes to your session work on the side?
I haven't personally messed too much with Fiverr, excuse me. I just know a lot of guys use it. But primarily I've been working with talented producer out of Jacksonville who played with me for a little bit in the group Lawless Hearts I was talking about, but he's kind of shifted more into the production aspect. His name's Rob Kotlinski. He's got a studio called Shed Sound, which is he does a lot of production out of in Jacksonville, and a lot of times he works with independent artists out of there who don't have like a band to play with, and he needs drums, so he's just like, cool, and we know each other, we know what each other likes for songs, and we trust each other, so that works out really well as far as our dynamic goes for producing songs. And then working with current artist Leah here, doing demos and stuff like that. A lot of that's done remote. So, when I say demos, like basically like a song that is pretty much like sounds about 99% ready for radio, but like not quite to that standard, but something that you want to get ready for. You want people to be able to hear it and be like, I really love that. It doesn't sound bad at all, but you're also not trying to release that at the moment. So, yeah.
I see. And I guess, how's Jacksonville been? Because did they get hit pretty hard by Ian and any recent natural disasters?
They're okay. They're okay. They didn't get hit too hard by Ian, thankfully. Yeah, it's been just, it's just typical hot, muggy weather down there. He was even telling me it was hot the other day. I was like, dang, man, that's wild. That's still hot in December.
Well, actually, yeah, it goes on. It stays in the 70s during the January. That's why my parents always go down during January and February, because that's when hurricane season's all done. That's when, hey, everybody come on back down here. Let's have a nice little party and everything. So
you're out of
Pennsylvania, actually. But I do have family that lives in Florida, and unfortunately, they were along the Gulf of Mexico that got rocked pretty hard by Ian. So needless to say, the house got pretty jacked up.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah. I had an aunt who that was no joke. That was when I lived in Florida for a while, you definitely realize that when people talk about hurricanes, it's kind of like, they're like, whatever. We're used to it. But every once in a while you get rocked by one like that, and it's not fun. But glad your family's okay though.
Well, she evacuated long before, but needless to say, the house got flooded over and everything too. But that's why we have insurance. So
Exactly.
That's why it's such big business. That's why they go for the big guys down in Florida too. So it's big money. But I guess let's jump into some fun questions right here. I guess what's your favorite alcoholic drink?
Shoot, man, I usually stick to my go-to's Miller High Life and a shot of whiskey to get the night going. But I really enjoy an old fashioned. I can really get down on an old fashioned.
I was going to either say that or Captain and Coke. You struck me as a guy that would love a good Captain every once in a while.
I do Captain and Coke as well.
All right, to be fair, but I guess the first one would be your favorite. So
I'm not super biased with alcohol. I can make the night work with various options.
please drink responsibly, though. Let's just do that. So, all right, a favorite non-alcoholic drink?
Non-alcoholic drink. Let's see. I'm just gonna be basic and go with coffee because that's really that's the bloodline for me most of the day, keeping things going.
I was gonna say that or milk because it looks like you work out, bro. So that was meant to be a compliment. That's meant to be a compliment. So
No, I should.
actually, you and me both. I've not been in the gym in a while too, and then it's just nagging cold. It just won't go away. But I think I gotta just exercise it out, as I would say. So we gotta work on it. So
Sometimes you just gotta power through it and you'll sweat it out.
all right. So the next one here, favorite movie.
I gotta go with The Fifth Element.
Element?
The Fifth Element.
Oh, Fifth Element.
Bruce Willis.
I'm trying to remember it too because fuck. Trying to refresh my memory.
It's just one of the. It's a sci-fi with it's a end of the world sci-fi with Mila Djokovic and Bruce Willis. Just a solid sci-fi fantasy that is one of those movies that if it's ever on, I just have to watch it. So I've probably seen it 100 times, and it never gets old.
They do a little kung fu fighting in it too.
Yeah, lots of good kung fu fighting in it. Absolutely, some aliens, all the good stuff.
I always loved, and I did mention this in my one Q&A episode, was Pulp Fiction. You ever seen that one?
Oh yeah, Pulp Fiction's that's definitely a classic. Like anyone who hasn't seen Pulp Fiction needs to see Pulp Fiction.
I always got a kick out of Bruce Willis's character in that one too, especially when they realized they forgot the golden watch.
That is like one of the best scenes ever.
It was kind of, that's what I love about Quentin Tarantino too. It's like those scenes come up, and it's like, what the fuck? But it's like the good ones too.
You're like, why was that necessary, but also awesome?
Yes. Or even accidentally John Travolta shooting Marvin in the face.
Oh my god, when he goes over a speed bump and blows his head off.
I assumed it was that, or the gun just went off. I don't know why. So
yeah, that definitely catches you off guard on that.
But still hilarious. But poor Marvin got shot in the face and had to be disposed of afterwards.
Oh well.
Accidents happen. So, but I guess have you done any recent TV, like any TV shows?
No TV shows. Although Atlanta is getting really big with the film industry and everything like that. So, but no, I haven't done any actual TV shows or anything like that.
No.
I was
going to say, do you have a favorite TV show? Like,
I thought you said, have I been in any? I was like,
well,
no.
That was actually going to be my next point, because I actually do have a friend who's in the acting industry, so I didn't know if they got you in any studios yet, but to answer that one, do you have a favorite TV show as of now?
Yes, actually. I've been watching this show White Lotus on HBO, which is it's just kind of like a drama thriller that is all revolves around a hotel resort called White Lotus. And there's 2 seasons out, and actually the finale is today, and I'm going to watch it. So I'm excited for that. It's amazing acting. If you're starting on season 1, just give it 2 episodes to get going, because the first 2 episodes are kind of slow. But if you can get past that, you're going to be this one.
I hear mixed reviews about Rings of Power for some reason. Have you watched that at all?
Oh, it's trash.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know why. My dad seems to be the only one that seems like, oh, it's okay. It's a little slow, but it's okay. I mean,
I'm definitely a Lord of the Rings fan, so maybe I'm just biased. But that definitely kind of they just kind of bet on that. it was it's just kind of like, and just really took away from any kind of like storyline that J.R.R. Tolkien would have had for that. So like, I don't know, it's just kind of it's cheesy. It's very cheesy.
I'll have to be the judge of that, so I have to watch it eventually.
Yeah, definitely not.
I was just picturing a J.R.R. Tolkien just freaking out if he saw it too. It's like, oh, that sort of thing.
He would definitely be freaking out.
Well, I don't want to be freaked out when I think it was his son wrote the Sumerian, and that unfortunately got a lot of negative views, which was pretty unfortunate.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's weird. These days are weird. That's what I was going to say. So,
yeah, a lot of Hollywood movies and shows are being just like talked out so quick, because it's just a different market. I actually saw this cool interview with Matt Damon. I don't know if you ever watched that show Hot Ones.
I think I might have. Is it a TV series or is it like a movie?
It's a YouTube series called Hot Ones, and they do. He does interviews with famous people while they eat like extremely hot sauce. So they just like are eating wings and with the hottest hot sauce that you can imagine, and it's and he's asking questions about their career and life and stuff like that. But Matt Damon was just talking about how the movie industry used to make a lot of their money off of release in theaters, and then they made a lot of money off of release from DVD. But now that really it's like you don't have DVDs anymore, everything's streamed, so they're not making that other income that they were used to. So it's more of like, okay, release stuff as quickly as possible and get as much money as you can out of it, like as quick as possible. Like there's not as much thought put into the stuff anymore. I feel like it's more of like grab people's attention. It's not, the artistic form of the artistic life has gotten kind of sucked out of that. So
I can see why. And I can see why comedy kind of loses it too. Now it's like this comedy is like real cheesy. There's not really much of a story behind it.
Right.
That's why I always felt like black comedy or dark comedy, whichever one you want to use. But those ones always did the best. So even though it might be like way over the top, maybe like, holy shit, that is dark, man. Or like, So I don't know. But that's why Hollywood gets really a bad rap from pretty much everybody these days. So you would hope they would learn, but I think it's going to be a while before they do.
Yeah, sadly, I feel like the music industry is similar to that too. It's just like pump out music as quick as you can, and there's a lot less artistic expression, put into it and less thought put into it, than it used to be, because it's more about like do as much as you can, put as much out as you can, as opposed to just putting quality out. It's quantity. So,
yeah. Let's hope there's lesson learns going forward after so many people start bashing them for it. But for this next one, was there ever a song that was too tough for you to play and you either gave up or you came back after a while and tried again?
Man, too many to count. There has been so many songs throughout my life, just like, and just that's the whole process of becoming a better musician, is just chipping away. Or like, you learn a little bit of a song and then you're like, I can't play this section of it. Give up on it for a little while. Then you get more advanced and you come back to it and you're like, okay, that's easy now. I can do that, And there's been stuff that, there's been songs that I've kind of like, been barely able to pull off. And then like later on in life, I've played them after not playing them in forever. And then I'm just like blowing through it like it's nothing. So, that's just part of advancing, I think no one should ever sit there and say, oh, I can't play this song, I'm never going to be able to play it, Because, it's just know what your weakness is on the song and focus on that and then come back to it later.
Lesson learned, yeah. It comes with experience too. And I imagine I was like holy shit, I can actually do this now. Those kind of experiences.
That's a great feeling. That is always one of the best feelings when you come back to something like, man, why is this so easy?
Yeah, it's the big epiphany moment, as I would like to say.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess which drum cover out of all the ones you've done so far on the YouTube channel do you love the most?
Well, I actually just did a cover recently that was a lot of fun. I don't think I uploaded it on YouTube yet, but it's on Instagram, TikTok. But I did this cool live performance of the Justin Timberlake song "Like I Love You," and it just had a really cool arrangement that the music director is by the name of Adam Blackstone, who's super huge music director in the industry. He's playing bass on that, and Brian Fraser Moore, who's a amazing drummer, he's playing drums on that, and they just had a really cool arrangement that I really enjoyed, and so I had a lot of fun doing that. It's definitely a cool one to put together.
I just feel bad for Justin Timberlake too, because the first one that always comes to mind was that wardrobe malfunction that happened during the Super Bowl halftime. I forget what year it was, but I think it was like early 2000s. And who was he singing next to? I know people are gonna probably yell at me too, but he had accidentally reached over. I guess he accidentally pulled off an article of clothing from one of the other singers, so that was kind of unfortunate.
Oh yeah,
so, I'm sure you remember too.
God, who was that? It was I'm blanking. I don't remember
it was a female, so it was unfortunate too. But fortunately, it's just water under the bridge now. But I know he's done like other works.
The Mariah Carey?
Mariah Carey?
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I think we have to look it up, and I know I'm gonna kick myself once I look it up, and it's gonna be like, it was that name. So, so I don't know. If anybody knows, leave it down in the comments once this video posts. So, all right, and down to the last two here, I guess. What is currently your favorite song, or one that you listen to a lot?
Man, so I guess a lot of times I just have songs on repeat that I'm like learning or, but like probably one of my favorite songs that I've been listening to like semi regularly, I'll throw it on, is by a band named Dirty Honey. And it's the song When I'm Gone. And I actually did a cover of that one too, but I love that song. I think it is so cool. It's really brings back kind of a cool Guns N' Roses vibe. And that's one of those songs I'll turn on and I'm just like, gets me pumped, It's good for getting the blood going, putting me in a good mood. So that's check out if you haven't checked.
I see. I'm sorry, my furnace is running in the background there too, so I think it's kind of muting out your voice for some reason. But regardless,
no, did you hear what I was saying, or?
I think just that last part, I missed what you said. So what'd you say?
Oh, I was just saying, check that song out if you haven't yet.
Okay, sounds good. I had to laugh at the name Dirty Honey because immediately I thought of Honey Bunny for some reason from Pulp Fiction.
Honey Bunny, yeah.
Sometimes I say it as a joke lie to some of my friends too. Be like, "Hey there, honey bunny, how you doing?" That sort of thing. So I don't know. I try to be funny. That's the thing. All right. So we are down to the last question. Did you have anything you want to say, or any questions you want to say to me?
No, man. I mean, I appreciate you having me on. This has definitely been a pleasure, and I hope to check out, some of your stuff that you're doing as well, and stay connected, and hopefully keep growing this community.
I guess, was this your first time doing a podcast interview or any sort of interview?
I think I've maybe done like one before. I've done like a radio interview before with a band, but like this is the first podcast I've done like this. Yeah.
That's good. And good to have you on too. We're breaking down barriers one step at a time. All right.
For sure.
All right. But the last question here, even though it may seem cliche, I think it's always best to ask because I think the answers sometimes vary. But what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians out there who are trying to make a career out of this or trying to make something out of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I honestly just like kind of like I was saying before, just like don't treat it like don't treat it like there's some goal that you have to reach by a certain age or it's just over, and you have to give up on it. And it's just like there's no limit. I mean, it's music. Like you can do it for the most part within your physical limits. You can do it pretty much through forever. I mean, look at the Rolling Stones. But I mean, like, just like keep that in mind. Always keep an open outlook on, like, what is your definition of success. It doesn't necessarily have to be that you're making a full-time living at music to be successful. It could be, there's lots of musicians out there. I definitely know personally that you would look at them and you'd be like, oh my God, they've got thousands and thousands of followers on Instagram or whatever, and they're touring, blah, blah, blah. But, they're coming home and they're working a day job after they get off tour. And like, just because, it looks like you have so much going on, it doesn't mean that you even have the means to make a living off of it. So, music it's a tough time for everyone to make a living at music. It's not what it used to be. It is not an easy thing to make a living at. And I don't think it's worth it, in my opinion, to kill your passion for the art because of your need to make a living off of it. I think it's more important to me personally to stay engaged with it, and be able to love what I'm doing. And, obviously you want to be paid for your time and like paid for your efforts, but like also just find a balance with like, okay, I'm going to turn down this gig that is soul sucking because, I would rather love what I'm doing than, have to make a living off of this. You know what I mean? So, and then, hopefully you get a good gig. It's hard for drummers. We don't, if you're not creating music, you got to look at it as a per gig basis, or maybe you want to teach for a living. It kind of depends on your situation and what you want to do. But definitely don't give up because you didn't meet the expectations that you had when you were younger. Just stick with it. Keep growing, learn, and just really, there's no reason to give up. There's no reason to give up unless you're literally like, just physically can't do it for whatever reason anymore. Just don't give up. It's not worth it because you'll regret giving up.
Spoken like a true prodigy.
Yep. It's, I'm 36 and, I'm not the oldest, but I'm not the youngest anymore. And, it's something I've definitely had to reevaluate what my outlook on things. I thought I was going to be famous by 25, and it's just not. It doesn't work like that. Doesn't work like that. But yeah, everyone out there, keep grinding, keep having fun, and hopefully you'll inspire somebody and meet some cool people along the way.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you so much for that, Corey. And I guess, do you have any final shout outs or anything you want to say before we close?
No, man. I mean, if anybody watches this and they need session work or live performance work from me, just hit me up. lawlessdrums.com, Lawless Drums with a Z, or you can find me at Instagram, Lawless Drums with a Z. And that's also my TikTok handle. So DM me, email me, whatever works.
Sounds good. And I guess last thing, why Lawless Drums? I guess what made you think of the name?
Oh, well, so it started like I had kind of developed the handle when I was playing with the band Lawless Hearts, and then I kind of liked just the idea of like kind of an all-encompassing like just brand that, just kind of means no boundaries, no limits to what you're doing as far as the music goes. And that's just kind of the ideal behind it.
That's smart. I'll give it to you, man. Good choice. All right. So everyone today, my guest was Corey Ahlquist. He just listed how you can reach him and everything. Go subscribe to his channel, social medias. Go support him. And I guess you doing any touring right now or any other session work you go to?
Go check out Shed Sound or Robert Kotlinski out of Jacksonville. Shed Sound's probably the easiest way to look them up. But yeah, if you're down that way, awesome producer. And definitely someone to check out and hit up for any kind of work that you need, mixing, engineering, producing.
Sounds good. All right, everyone, Corey Ahlquist here. Corey, you stay safe. Stay tuned, y'all.
Take care, y'all.